Hi boys and girls, we are back with reading comprehension. This week we are going to sequence events. So our target is we can sequence the events in a text. To sequence events, readers must remember the events in a text in the order in which they happened. You can use a sequence of events chart to help you. You know how I love charts. We've used them a lot, so this one will be familiar to you. When you're sequencing events, you are thinking about what happened in the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. In the beginning, thinking about the characters and where they are. In the middle, thinking about where they are and what's happening to them. And in the end, thinking about the characters, where they are, how things are different, instead of how they were in the beginning. So good readers pay attention to the different parts of a story to better their understanding or comprehension. Sometimes when students and adults read, they have a hard time deciding where the beginning, the middle, and the end start. So as I read, I'm going to watch for places in the story where the setting changes for a long time. This is sometimes a good way to know when the story changes from the beginning to the middle and from the middle to the end. As always, I can just take a plain piece of paper and divide it into thirds for this. So at the top, I write a sequence of events chart, and I could write the title up there if I wanted to. And then here I would write beginning, middle, and the end. Again, today we're focusing on setting. So we'll be talking about what happens in the setting for the beginning, the middle, and the end. Pause the video and get out your orange Houghton Mifflin book. Turn to 258 and unpause the video. Before we read the story Thunder Cake, turn to page 258. Some key vocabulary that we'll need for reading the story is bolt, horizon, lightning, rumbled, thunder, and weather. You probably know some of these words, but we'll read this text to help us understand them better before we read. Thunder and lightning. You've probably heard thunder as it rumbled during a storm. Thunder is the loud noise that you hear after you see a flash of lightning. Lightning is a quick flash or bolt of electricity that lights up the sky during a thunderstorm. Thunderstorms often happen when the weather is warm. In the story you are about to read, a grandmother helps a little girl get over her fear of thunderstorms. The next time you see a thunderstorm on the horizon, you can stay safe if you remain inside your house or in a car. And the horizon is where the sun or the sky meets the land. Thunder Cake, page 261. Page 262. Grandma looked at the horizon, drew a deep breath, and said, "This is thunder cake baking weather, all right. Looks like a storm coming to me." Look at that storm on the horizon. "Child, you come out from under that bed. It's only thunder you're hearing," my grandma said. Page 266. She's giving her a hug. And 267. The air was hot, heavy, and damp. A loud clap of thunder shook the house, rattled the windows, and made me grab her close. "Steady, child," she cooed. "Unless you let go of me, we won't be able to make a thunder cake today." "Thunder cake?" I stammered as I hugged her even closer. "Don't pay attention to that old thunder, except to see how close the storm is getting. When you see the lightning, start counting, real slow. When you hear the thunder, stop counting. That number is how many miles away the storm is. Understand?" she asked. "We need to know how far away the storm is so we have time to make the cake and get it into the oven before the storm comes, or it won't be real thunder cake." Page 268. Her eyes surveyed the black clouds away off in the distance. Then she strode into the kitchen. Her warm hands pulled a thick book from the shelves above the wood stove. "Let's find that recipe, child," she crowed as she lovingly fingered the grease-stained pages to a creased spot. "Here it is, thunder cake." She carefully penned the ingredients on a piece of notepaper. When she penned it, that means that she wrote it, because she's writing it with a pen. The author could have just written, "She wrote the ingredients," but she wanted to do it in an interesting way, so she used pen. "Now let's gather all the things we'll need," she exclaimed as she scurried toward the back door. We were by the barn door when a huge bolt of lightning flashed. I started counting like Grandma told me to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then the thunder roared. 10 miles! It's 10 miles away, Grandma said as she looked at the sky. About an hour away, I'd say. You'll have to hurry, child. Gather the eggs carefully, like she said. So I'm going to stop right here because now the scene has changed. She's no longer in the house. She's gathering eggs from, it looks like the barn or the farm area. I can enter the beginning on my sequence of events chart. So in the beginning, she was in the house, and Grandma decides to bake a thunder cake. She teaches her grandchild to start counting when she sees lightning and to stop when she hears thunder. I summarized what happened. I didn't add a lot of detail, but I added just enough to summarize what happened so far in the story. So we'll read the rest of page 270. Gather them eggs careful like, she said. Eggs from mean old Nellie Peck Hen. I was scared. I knew she would try to peck me. I'm here. She won't hurt you. Just get them eggs, Grandma said softly. The lightning flashed again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I counted. There's the grandma, watching carefully. 272. 9 miles, Grandma reminded me. Milk was next. Milk from old Kick Cow. As Grandma milked her, Kick Cow turned and looked mean right at me. I was scared. She looked so big. Zip went the lightning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I counted. Baroom went the thunder. 8 miles, child, Grandma croaked. Now we have to get chocolate and sugar and flour from the dry shed. There's the grandma milking. And they're riding or bringing a sled to the dry shed. I was scared as we walked down the path from the farmhouse through Tangleweed Woods to the dry shed. Page 275, by the way. Suddenly, the lightning slit the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I counted. Boom, ba-boom, crashed the thunder. It scared me a lot, but I kept walking with Grandma. I like how the author here didn't just say the lightning was in the sky, she said it slit the sky. I really like that because it creates a different image in my mind and it makes it sound interesting. She doesn't just say, "Oh, it was in the sky." It slit the sky like a big knife cutting into a cake. Another jagged edge of lightning flashed as I crept into the dry shed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I counted. Crackle, crackle, boom, kaboom, the thunder bellowed. It was dark and I was scared. I'm here, child, Grandma said softly from the doorway. Hurry now. We haven't got much time. We've got everything but the secret ingredient. And there they are on page 277. And 278 looks like she's grabbing for something red. I don't think it's apples, but it could be. Let's read to find out. 279. 3 overripe tomatoes and some strawberries, Grandma whispered as she squinted at the list. I climbed up high on the trellis. The trellis is this. People have their vegetables or their fruit climbing up it so that they can grow. and they don't fall over. I climbed up high on the trellis. The ground looked a long way down. I was scared. "I'm here, child," she said. Her voice was steady and soft. "You won't fall." I reached 3 luscious tomatoes while she picked strawberries. Lightning again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I counted. "Kabang! Boom-a-room!" the thunder growled. We hurried back to the house and the warm kitchen. On page 280, it looks like they changed from being outside gathering things on the farm to being back in the kitchen. So I can go in, and I think that's where the middle part ends. So I'm going to write that new setting in the middle. So on my sequence of events chart, I had the beginning, and now I have the middle. They were out and about on the farm. So Grandma decides to bake a thunder cake. Grandma and the grandchild collects fresh eggs from the mean old Nellie Peck hen, fresh milk from the mean old kick cow, a sack of flour from the scary dry shed, and 3 tomatoes from high up on the trellis. Oh, they had some strawberries in there too. I could have put that down, but that's okay. I think I have enough details. If for some reason I need to add more to the middle, I can go back and do that. But I think now we're kind of wrapping up the story because we've changed settings. Back to our book on page 280. We hurried back to the house and the warm kitchen, and we measured the ingredients. I poured them into the mixing bowl while Grandma mixed. I churned butter from the frosting, for the frosting, and melted chocolate. Okay, I did it too. I'm often telling boys and girls to not say from and for, and you can see how easy it is to do. So since I mixed that up, I need to go back and reread it. I churned butter for the frosting and melted chocolate. Finally, we poured the batter into the cake pans and put them into the oven together. That definitely made more sense than before. Lightning lit the kitchen. I only counted to 3, and the thunder rumbled and crashed. 3 miles away, Grandma said, and the cake is in the oven. We made it. We'll have a real thunder cake. Go ahead and look through page 281 at that illustration, and then turn to page 282. As we waited for the cake, Grandma looked out the window for a long time. "Why, you aren't afraid of thunder. You're too brave," she said as she looked right at me. "I'm not brave, Grandma," I said. "I was under the bed, remember?" "But you got out from under it," she answered, "and you got eggs from mean old Nellie Peck hen. You got milk from old kick cow. You went through Tanglewood Woods to the dry shed. You climbed the trellis in the barnyard. From where I sit, only a very brave person could have done all of them things." So this was a little hard for me to read because it's not how you would normally speak properly. The grandma is talking here, and this is how she talks. We would normally say, "From where I sit, only a very brave person could have done all of those things." But the author thought it was important to make her sound more like the grandma that she had in her imagination, and so she just made her not so proper, and she used "done all them things" instead. Now we're on page 285. I thought and thought as the storm rumbled closer. She was right. I was brave. "Brave people can't be afraid of a sound, child," she said as we spread out the tablecloth and set the table. When we were done, we hurried into the kitchen to take the cake out of the oven. After the cake had cooled, we frosted it. Just then the lightning flashed, and this time it lit the whole sky. Even before the last flash had faded, the thunder rolled, boomed, crashed, and baroomed just above us. The storm was here. "Perfect," Grandma cooed. just perfect. She beamed as she added the last strawberry to the glistening chocolate frosting on top of our thunder cake. Go ahead and pause the video, look through the illustrations, and then turn to 289. As rain poured down on our roof, Grandma cut a wedge for each of us. She poured us steaming cups of tea from the samovar. That must be like a teacup. When the thunder roared above us so hard it shook the windows and rattled the dishes in the cupboards, we just smiled and ate our thunder cake. From that time on, I never feared the voice of thunder again. And then on page 291, you have thunder cake, and here's the recipe for it. All right, boys and girls, back to our sequence of events chart. It didn't change. They were in the kitchen after they came back on the farm, so I think I was right in writing that in the end they were back in the warm kitchen. Now I have to write what happened in the end. So Grandma and her child mix ingredients, churn butter, and bake the cake. And I need to add one last thing because I have to add how the character changed. The grandchild, because it never told us the child's name. The grandchild learned she was brave and was no longer afraid of thunder. So that just completes the whole ending of the story. So that, second graders, is how knowing how to sequence events helps you remember the story. Notice how I stopped and thought about it along the way, and I used the setting changes to show what happened in the beginning, the middle, and the end. Sometimes you can use those setting changes to help you decide what to write for each of those sections. Remember, stopping along the way is your goal too. I could rush, but it's more important that I remember the story. This helps you and I remember what we read. So until next time, stay healthy, helpful, and calm. It has been fun working with you via video. Ta-ta! Ta-ta is another way to say goodbye or farewell. So until next time, take care.